Michelle, it's good to be with you. I'm glad we're able to talk today.
Monica, it's good to be with you too.
Yes. I'd love to just talk a little bit about who you are and what you do. You and I were able to get connected. Well, goodness, I think it's because I somehow knew about you all there in South Carolina and that you knew about Life Model because I know your partner. I met him at a Thrive training. I reached out and said, "Hey, I'd love to talk with you guys." And you reached out back, and we've been talking a little bit ever since.
Yep.
Yeah.
I appreciate the opportunity to chat a little further.
Me too. I know. I love like getting connected and finding out, who does a similar type of approach to therapy and like what specifically brought you to this and then how it's playing out in your life. So, can you just speak a little bit about, who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I am a licensed professional counselor in South Carolina, and I started a practice called the Joy Center when I moved here about 12 years ago, 13 years ago now, with a very, the life model principles really informed the name that I chose for this practice.
Okay.
Kind of launching on the idea that we have a joy center in our brain. And it's really, really useful to leverage that and to harness that idea in helping people find stability, recover from harm, etc. So in our practice, I have me, and I work primarily with complex PTSD and dissociative disorders. Dave is my partner, and he does men's issues and marriages. And then we have Tammy Payne is our pastoral counselor. She's not licensed, but has a master's degree in life transformation and coaching, and she does lovely work with her client base as well. We do some teaching in the area for local churches that are interested in the Emmanuel approach. We've done a lot of training with spiritual directors in encouraging them to be trauma informed and maybe consider the Emmanuel approach in their work with their client base. That's kind of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me then, how did you first get connected to Life Model and this joy center and relational joy concept? How did that first come into your life?
That came into my life through a class that I was taking in Michigan on prayer ministry back when I was doing some pastoral counseling. And a gentleman who was doing some training in the Elijah House approach, like it's, digging way back there, brought to class the book, Living from the Heart That Jesus Gave You. And it had this bright, vibrant green color. And honestly, I was really drawn to the color. And listening to him talk about the attachment process in infants in learning to climb Joy Mountain with their mother.
Yes.
I began to cry. Something really deep in me bubbled up, and I didn't know what it was. It was maybe one of the first times that I was really considering the importance of pre-verbal experiences in your developmental process, really being introduced to the idea that in spite of the harm that's happened, your prefrontal cortex can still grow, that it's the only part of your body, your brain that can continue to grow until you pass on or leave the earth. So I just bought the book blind on his recommendation and read it, consumed it, and I found it to be really moving emotionally for me and really freeing to have some context and a framework to begin to organize my thinking, organize my understanding of self and other people. Even back then in my pastoral counseling work, like, it's wild and woolly to be sitting with somebody and there's so many things happening. And I was always really hungering for a frame that would work, that explained things, that would give us this foundation to flow from.
Yes, I agree with that. I think, we have so many different types of models that we can go after. And a lot of times they're very niched and like a very, streamlined on one topic. And then if you're flowing with a client into another topic, you're like, oh, I don't know if I feel skilled in this. And
Yeah.
what we're talking about now, can we go back to this?
Yeah.
It really helps to have a conceptualization, right? This broad, and I know
Yeah.
how we call it an idealized conceptualization of like, this is what it should
Yeah. And an idealized model too, right? Like we don't have to get hung up on the jot and tittle of it all, which would be my more bent kind of being an information consumer and a real ravenous appetite for something that will help others. I've softened some over the years, but back then I was just like a starving feral squirrel that had been a minute since it had some nuts or something. I was just really eager
Me
to.
too. I was like that too. Like when I came across Life Model, I had been doing a lot of other things, whether it was from the Christian perspective or, the secular psychology perspective. I had been reading so much and consuming so much and trying so much in my life and in the life of my clients. But
Mm.
when I came across Life Model, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
felt like some satiation for my hunger,
Yeah.
way that I hadn't felt with other things.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. So what I hear you saying is, yeah, you were going after it for your personal life and you sought help in the way you were working with clients.
Yeah. And I was working, with clients really differently than I work now, like as a clinician. Back then, I was really more doing, I guess, what I would call supportive care, supportive work with people, mostly from the church who were looking for healing or, you
But it
know,
wasn't as much like a licensed professional.
no, I was not working as a licensed professional.
You were a helper.
I was just kind of using my counseling background to serve the church and the community. And then I ended up being actually joining a practice later. And my work shifted a little bit. But the life model, initially, when I was introduced to it, I was so hopeful that this would be well received in the church that I was attending at the time, that was doing a lot of talking about emotional wellness and being serious about working with woundedness and the importance of growing up right into a fully formed expression of Christianity. And after reading the book, I had to wrestle with the truth that I did not belong in my own church community. In spite of being really involved, nobody really knew me. And I thought, oh, that's very interesting, but also tracks for what I'm experiencing here. So that was interesting.
It's
So
right.
you're right.
Go ahead.
I did get into it really just hungry for myself. Also knowing, I was working in prayer ministry and kind of pastoral care and counseling at that time, and I needed more.
You needed more, you need to be able to help what you were doing. And then now it's, what you went through back then is informing how you show up with people today.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I mean,
The thing about joy, like what was so impactful for me was, wow, how I show up
yes,
neurobiologically
yes.
matters. I always knew that, but
Yeah.
having that integrated just a little more fully, that
Yeah.
not only does it matter, but neurobiologically,
Yeah.
when that's in the room, now as a clinician, I see that becomes actually part of the frame, the healing modality, right? Already that person's nervous system is syncing up with mine. Already their mirror neurons are searching my face for, am I glad to be with them? Regardless of what we do, like
Exactly.
what we're looking on.
This is like the right brain psychotherapy concept, right? That it's like who I am and how much I've healed from my fragmentation of soul, how much I've integrated in and landed in this solid sense of my individual self. I can then show up with the client, and really the level of productivity when we're better
Mhm.
is, it's not even about the words we're saying. It's just this
It's
energy
it's the energy in the room.
to the
Yeah.
table. Like, yeah, you can't put a price on that. Like, it's so big and it's not easy. Like, I think you and I, in our short relationship here, we've been talking just about our own journey, is like how hard it's been to get here. And
Mhm.
not that we've arrived and don't have a lot more to grow in, but to get to this place of more integration, more solidification of self has been a pain journey. And that a lot of us as therapists come into this world into this profession because of our own personal pain. And I think those who have more the anxious attachment around that, like, feel it more.
Mm.
Those of us who have more the avoidant don't feel as much. So maybe we're not quite as hungry.
Yeah, it could be. That's not something I really thought about, really,
Yeah.
in terms that I do know that my journey of constant pursuit of education was really drawn out of this deep sense of lacking
Yeah.
in
Sorry.
competence and I don't know what I'm doing in the world. I don't know who I am. I don't know, right? And the world became very confusing in that.
It's a journey to find myself. And
Yeah, and really inhabit my soul.
because we're born into these bodies and we aren't like, if we don't have parents who can really like model something and speak something into us, we end up kind of scrambling. And then as our consciousness grows, we're like, what in the world is this?
Oh my word. Yeah. The first time I became aware of the word attunement was actually through Life Model, like about 20 years ago. I mean, I had heard the word, but didn't really understand the like neurobiological impact.
Yes.
A well-attuned conversation that is not too much, not too little, that it's just right for me and my nervous system and my body.
Mm-hmm.
And to really open myself up to the idea that there was a lot of lack in my development and I missed out on that really core piece. It's no wonder that I have no record in my body of what that feels like in a felt sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh, okay, right. And I started searching faces for it and realizing, oh, no one has this. Actually, it's not just me. It's
Yeah.
most people. Okay, so that was just really helpful. Like, all right, do nothing else. I'm going to learn to attune well, really regulate my nervous system, slow down, get my prefrontal cortex online, and practice being with someone. And that really shifted things for me in a positive way with even my confidence level as a
Yes.
practitioner that I'm going to embody myself and hand that off to someone else. Invite you into it. Yeah.
It's huge. And I think that that's like when we think about, interpersonal neurobiology and right brain psychotherapy and life model and, some of these other IFS and dissociation theories, we're thinking of how can we integrate, how can we heal those parts that are wounded? And so how can we show up in space with people who are still fragmented and be like a solid presence? And I think where I want to go just at the end here of our conversation is what do we like how if you're a therapist, if you're talking to yourself 20 years ago, right? And trying to explain where to go next, like how to get started on this. Maybe someone's listening and they're like, okay, I'm interested. That sounds interesting, but I don't even know what to do. I don't even know where to start. And I'm so busy. I mean, we're all so busy, right? We've got lots of
Yeah.
we also have our personal lives and all these things. What would your advice as like a more veteran at this point, what would your advice be?
Well, you know what? I'm really proud of the fact that I'm proud of my younger self that she followed her gut and the felt sense of really being drawn to that book and pursued that, right? So, like, good on you, Michelle Hardy, back then. You did that, and that was a door opener for you. I would say for anybody listening today that is really curious, that book is a great place to start. And really, when you read the principles that are held in that book, Living from the Heart that Jesus gave you, read it with your heart. Read it through the lens of not so much what do my clients need, but what do I need as a person? What drink of water is there for me in this, and that alone will open you up to some next steps. And I'm really grateful that you, Monique, are Monica, taking this work and synthesizing it, because that was missing back when I was starting. It was just like, wow, there's all this great material and what? And it was really laborsome for me as a really hungry person to try to sift through everything. And I like what you're doing in kind of synthesizing it and making it easier for people. But I would say get in touch with your heart and really think with your heart and your gut, your logical mind. Like, do I really need another training? No, none of us need another training. But I mean, that's just me saying. If I don't go to another training, I'll probably be okay.
Right.
But my soul is looking to grow. And I think that if you are at all interested in human development and emotional expansion and right brain psychotherapy and engaging people differently, this might be a good thing to look at.
Agreed. That's so well said. And
I'm so sorry I got your name wrong. I was thinking I have this other friend, Monique.
I like Monique. Like, that's no problem at all. Yeah, let's just go with it, right? But I think what I'm hearing you say, Michelle, is it's almost like paying attention to the subtle cues that are in your that are coming from they're coming from inside of you. They're coming from this is how God speaks. And so there's this subtleness, and like your journey might not be my journey, and all of our journeys are different, but we're all called to be healthy and find our journey into being more well in terms of healing the wounds of our heart and coming into a place of more of a firm foundation.
Yeah. And really allowing, like, I'm as a mature adult now, like, I really feel so good about listening to my gut in what's not working. Like, if this doesn't work for me, like with anything, then I'm like, it's just not for me. It doesn't mean it's wrong.
Yeah.
But following that heart call, that heart essence, like leading with your heart is really important.
That's what it's all about. It won't steer us wrong if we're in a sense of not grasping toward the things of the flesh, but the things of the spirit, like the things that are beautiful, love, joy, and peace, and patience, and kindness, and goodness, and all those things. I'm also reminded of that scripture that says, you will hear a voice behind you saying, this is the way, walk in it. Yeah. It's like, this is your journey, this is mine.
Yeah.
It's really good to be with you today. Thank you for being along with this.
Thanks for chatting.
Yes, yes, yes. And we'll chat more later, I am sure. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Sounds good, Monica.